Let's just focus onto this now. The City of Johannesburg says it's doing all it can to ensure residents don't experience water cuts during load shedding. Here to tell us more is the city's MMC for Environmental and Infrastructure Services, Nico De Jager. Happy Friday, Nico. Thanks for joining us. We're barely coping with load shedding, and we know water is life. Please detail for us what is being done to make sure we do not experience cuts where water is concerned.
Yeah, indeed. The impact of load shedding is felt severely on our infrastructure and especially on water as well. We think, well, now we don't have water as well. The result of load shedding is that most of our pumps, or most of our reservoirs and also our water towers rely on electricity for the pumps to run. Now, we've already agreed or reached an agreement with Rand Water that from Joburg Waterside we will not be shedding the area of Aikenhof. That's one of the biggest intake points for water, and it feeds most of the southern parts of Gauteng of water. So we will not be load shedding that part of the city. But then when it comes to our own reticulation, it's sometimes more challenging. I know residents in the Auckland Park, Brixton, Crosby area, they've been experiencing water problems as a result of load shedding. Now, on 2 days ago, I had a discussion. I don't know which day it is, so thank you for reminding me it's Friday. 2 days ago, I had a discussion and meeting with City Power, responsible for the load shedding, the department responsible for load shedding, and they will be investigating to be sure that where we have our water towers running at a critically low, that we can then not load shed that area, or to try and take the load away, what we have to shed away from that area. In some instances it is very difficult because it's done on a block basis, and we're expected to, on stage 2, we are expected to shed about 200 megawatts of power.
Sure.
So
when you say it's done on a block basis, what does that mean?
Exactly. It's from the city is divided into different blocks, and then we have to, and the block is really drawn up according to the scale from the substation. So it's quite a technical process. What caught us off guard in this instance is that on Sunday, when load shedding was first introduced, it was really, we were only informed about 10 minutes before load shedding started. What made it worse is that in the past, because of the city has an independent power producer that we buy 200 megawatts from on a daily basis in the form of Calvin Power Station. In the past, we used to offset what we buy from Calvin against what we are expected to shed. Late last year, sometime in December, we just received a letter to say that no longer will that be taken into account. So irrespective of what we buy in, we have to still shed about 10% of the national requirement of load shedding. It's not quite a fair, in our opinion, not quite fair approach, but it also then meant that as the Eskom introduced load shedding, we suddenly have to find an additional 200 megawatts to shed, which is, again, made it very difficult for our teams. And that is also why we've seen some confusion around the blocks as they were introduced in the schedule. Sure.
This highlights the power that Eskom actually has, and it's interesting to see that no one is exempt, not hospitals, not water, nobody. How does this impact the quality of water that you then produce for South Africans?
It doesn't impact on the quality of water at all, I can tell you. We still do our lab tests as we are supposed to do. The quality of water remains. That's not the problem. It's the reticulation that's a problem. But I also want to say that where it is possible, now it's true, like you said, nobody's exempt, but where it is possible, in the case of a hospital, etc., they can just highlight with City Power, and City Power will take that into consideration. We have a phenomenal person at the helm of the load shedding schedule. It's a gentleman by the name of Sipho Khamedi, and I can tell you he sat in my office for hours to try and explain the formula to me, and it made me feel very, very comfortable, but also mean that the poor man is taking a lot of abuse from residents and councillors as a
Maybe
result.
he needs to make us understand as well.
I wish you could give him the time. You know, it'd be quicker for you to understand than it was for me, maybe. But it's
I
quite
doubt
difficult.
it.
It's quite
But yeah, thank you very much for coming through. Maybe before we let you go, how can we help? What responsibility do we have?
It is absolutely critical, and I really want to appeal to all residents, all citizens. When load shedding happens, switch off everything that you can in your house. Even if you can switch off your fridge and freezer, switch it off. Leave one light on. When the power is restored, the voltage that goes through the cables is so severe. So the greater the need, the greater the voltage that will go through those cables. That causes massive strain on the infrastructure. It's like taking a 6-month-old baby and start shaking it and thinking nothing will happen. And lo and behold, a couple of weeks later, the baby gets a brain aneurysm or something like that. That is the impact of load shedding. So keep all non-essential appliances switch off. Leave a light on so you can see when power comes on. And that's really going to help you and me.
Right,
A lot.
sure. Thank you very much, Nico de Jager, for coming through to chat to us this morning. MMC for Environment and Infrastructure Services.